What is happening, good people? We are here for Macro Dirt Podcast number 21 with Jared D's Nuts Dillian. What's up, brother?
What's up, shithead?
How are you today? I love that one. That one I can really jive with. I was called that all the time as a kid, so that's like a term of endearment for me.
Dude, I have a cat who is a shithead. Taurus. He is just a shithead. That's what he is.
It's the perfect term for a dad to call his offspring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I want to nail my son down on something, I can look him in the eye and be like, "Hey, shithead. Did you think about how this was, you know what I mean?" And he doesn't get upset. He's just like, "Oh, I get it. I get what's coming now." So that's a good one. First, let's say thank you to the team Doomberg for joining us last week. That blew our podcast up, man. Yeah. Ring the bell. 50,000 views in total. Got us through 2,500 subscribers on YouTube, which I'm incredibly proud of.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep the ball rolling, and we'll have him back on again soon. But first, we've got to talk about the fucking markets, mate.
I only got one thing to say this week.
Let's go.
Sell the dollar.
Oh my God. I was going to comment, like, you can't get this thing to stop.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like you said, I don't disagree, because if you look at the chart, it's just rifling back to the top of the range at full speed.
There's a bunch of things. You ever get into a situation when you're trading and you're losing money and you don't understand why, and you have a thesis and you don't understand why everybody else doesn't believe the thesis?
A little bit.
Here's the deal. So Trump, in his first term, shit all over the dollar, like shit all over it for like a year and knocked it down like 10%. Okay. JD Vance in the campaign said he was going to shit all over the dollar. He even hinted at currency interventions to get the dollar down, right? Trump gets elected, dollar goes straight up. I don't get it. So like the other thing is that forgive me, I'm going to talk for a little bit here.
Go.
Basically, the thesis was if Trump got elected, that rates would rip higher, because Trump is going to run big deficits, and he's going to run big deficits, and there's going to be increased supply of bonds, and rates are going to go up. That was the thesis. So you get the election, and rates really aren't that much higher. They're maybe 10, 15 bips higher. They're not that much higher. Somehow people believe that Trump is a deflationary force. Commodities are getting hammered. The dollar is ripping. It's turned into a deflationary trade, which I suppose if I thought about it, maybe I could have come up with this idea, but it's the opposite of what you would think would happen if Trump got elected, and I'm totally stuck and I can't figure it out. There's a DeMarc 13 on the dollar. There's a DeMarc 13 on rates. As of today, there's a DeMarc 13 on the dollar. So,
yeah, it's one of the things that I really can't directly explain, because yields, like you said, have been kind of sideways. Today, we got the CPI bang in line with what we expected. 0.3 month over month, 2.3 year over year, like no surprises at all. Dollar ups and goes to a new high while rates are pulling back like 10 or 15 bips in the 10-year. So there's one for me there's the thing for me where I just kind of, this is why I keep the dollar as a speedometer on my dashboard and not as a risk asset in my pad. It's very hard to get right. And it's kind of the thing where I'm like, okay, if that's going against me, I've got to pare down my commodity and stock risk or something like that. So, I don't have an explanation for it, but it's an interesting departure from trading with yields. When yields were trading higher, the dollar was trading higher. They've backed off a little bit. The dollar's still going higher. That's something we've got to figure out. But one of the alerts on my screen this morning is copper is coming apart like a soup sandwich.
Copper is coming apart like a soup sandwich.
Just right to your deflationary story, it's hard to get excited about the economy for me, when copper is dosing into the below 9K and nobody really gives a shit range.
Yeah.
Again, so I have a problem with that. Gold still looks great to me. Gold is this is
Yeah,
Everything.
like we said with Doomberg, it's a healthy correction. It's fine,
It's
Yep.
price action is clear as day, behaving like an orderly pullback. Like I'd
Yep.
love to see it maintain this pace and pull back another moving average. That would be a gift from the trading gods if we
Yep.
got it, right? Um, Stocks. Let's talk about stocks. Last week, you were looking for a little bit of a Costanza move where they sold off after Trump. I remain bullish. I still remain bullish because I'm looking at, I thought I wrote a good note today and I got a lot of compliments on it about what markets look like a week into the Trump administration, you know. And if I may take the floor for just a brief moment, I just want to point out a couple of things like Bitcoin's up 40% since the election. Software is up 12% and breaking out. Broker dealers are up 12%. Apparently, we are going to broker, trade, and clear the shit out of the next Trump administration if broker dealers, are all of a sudden a leading sector here. Cloud storage, one of those breakouts we discussed. Oil services, Cuppies trade, the undervalued trade is up 8% since the Trump election. Financials up 6%, right? Like we talked about, they're going to print money in banking, they're going to print money in trading. Consumer discretionary up 7%, right? That's the Tesla gets the government off its back trade, where Tesla goes up 30% in a week and you get Amazon and GM rallying just because it's a bull market euphoria. And then you've got the downside of solar stocks just coming apart, right? That sector to me is doomed under the Trump
Yep.
administration. He's not
Yep.
about intermittent power, he's about fossil fuels. So I think that, those are, to me, that's the telegraph that the market is showing. That's the bifurcation of sectors. There's a lot of sectors that are nowhere on the year. But when I see things like financials and broker dealers jump out into the lead like we've seen them, I'm sitting up in my chair and I'm praying for a pullback, man. Do you still think that there's a Costanza trade afoot?
I mean, can sentiment get any hotter about Trump? Like,
Yeah, it can. Like fear and greed is at 62. The AAII bull index pulled back from 51 to 41.
I didn't
Like
see that. Wow.
this stuff is, and those are the readings that the market those are the readings that sentiment can sit at while the market just chips away at new highs. And the VIX, every time we're going to talk about Trump appointments in the off market comment, but every time Trump makes another appointment, the VIX ticks down a little bit more.
Yep.
It's like the adults are back in charge. There are serious people in serious positions, and we're not just hiring transgenders to check the box and everything. And we're going to get to that off markets too. But in my opinion, just by my methodology, I can't fade this stuff. I can't fade this stuff. And when we've got technology, cyclical sectors all breaking, or some of them mostly breaking out, and names like NVIDIA just scratching along all-time highs, man, this is a condition that markets are very comfortable in.
You know
And
what? You know what I like? I like the broker dealers. I
is
like that trade. I mean, I think in 4 years Goldman could be a double from
oh
here.
my God. I mean, its reaction to this, to the reaction to the Trump election, to me, up 15%. That's a buy. That's an easy buy,
Yeah.
right? That's the market saying, hello, something changed here, and they're going to go ahead and make the money, and you're going to see it in the earnings. But I'm disappointed. Like you, I'm trying to figure out this deflationary conundrum where it feels like we've got kind of a weaker economy than we would expect given the euphoria in the stock market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
JD, what do you think about the RFK Jr. trade out there?
I think RFK could potentially really disrupt the pharmaceutical industry for sure. Um, you mentioned we talked about it a little bit last week with Doomberg, but we talked about the fact that when Trump was elected, Pfizer did not participate in the rally. None of the farmers that really participated in the rally. Advertising, he could curb their ability to advertise. You turn on Wheel of Fortune and it's like Sky Rizzy and Ozempic and like all these commercials for like that could go away.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's all kinds of I don't think I mean farmers have underperformed, but I don't think they're pricing in what could potentially happen here.
I agree, and I love the way you posture it because when I look at RFK Jr., I see a wrecking ball of a guy, right? Like he's got vengeance in his pocket. He's built like a brick shithouse, and he means business, you know. And you look over at the pharma ETF. Would you say it was PPH?
Yep.
So, at in the very least, pharma curled over from 80 to 90 and is, excuse me, from 100 to 90 and is now below the 200-day moving average. So there's a little respect for RFK Jr. in that to me. And if he is going to do half of what he says he does, it would seem like that industry is going to, like you said, in for a total cosmetic makeover like it's never expected before. So that could be a good one. But I love the fact that, you know, the market is speaking, you know, really loudly where the sectors that are in trouble are just curling over, you know, solar, pharma, Pfizer and Moderna haven't caught a bid since the election with stocks a lot higher. So it looks like the writing is on the wall there. And then we've got these trades that are, you know, kind of perking up and slapping us in the face. And they're like, hey, the broker dealers are built for speed here. You know, and we're going to be trading the lights out of everything. I would imagine volume is going to increase under a Trump administration, and that's just a speculation. But if it does a couple of basis points, let alone a few percentage points, these companies are set up to make a lot of money. So that's a few of the trades that we're going to keep our eyes very, very closely on.
You want to talk about crypto a little bit?
Yeah, we got a man like
Yeah.
88K bid this morning. It
It
seems
traded
like
up to 92 Bitcoin.
did
So,
it.
yeah, the total crypto market cap is now $3 trillion, which is where it was in 2021.
Wow.
So, um, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are talking about. So, Trump mentioned on the campaign that he would get rid of capital gains taxes on crypto, like because he says it's his currency. It's like the dollar. It's like you don't pay capital gains on the dollar, right?
Yep.
Like so, it's a currency. You shouldn't pay capital gains on it. So he's talking about that. They're talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? Hey, did you hear about this?
I didn't. I didn't. I got to
No, kind of like a strategic oil reserve, like that. Like the government would buy like a bunch of Bitcoin and just hold it.
in case we go to war against the laser eyes.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
what do you mean? No, what do you mean? What are we strategically holding Bitcoin for?
I don't really know. I don't know, but that's what they're talking about. Yeah,
And that's a head scratcher. I mean, you know, the biggest appeal to me is that institutions are visibly taking this seriously and piling in with both hands. You know, I mean, that's clear. The flows have been unbelievable. They keep coming at every price, which is something to say about the asset as it's in and of itself. And we are ripping through 94K as we speak, right?
yeah.
The move from essentially the move from 70K to 93K has been a frozen rope, and there's nothing about it that says it's over yet.
No. And the
You
other
know,
thing is from a sentiment standpoint, in 2021, you had all these douchebags, like have fun staying poor and like posting all these memes and stuff. Like those guys are nowhere. Like this is like a real rally. This is not like speculation. I think it's got a lot more upside when I look at this.
yeah.
So,
No, I mean it certainly looks like it's trading to another dimension right now. The chart is the sexiest thing in the markets, you know, with the year-long consolidation and breakout of the pennant flag. I mean, the
yeah.
consolidation was violent, and so the breakout we should expect to be violent, and I think that's what 93K bid with another 2 sigma extension to a new high on the
You know what?
screen.
You know what I don't like. You know what I don't like.
What's that?
Anthony Pompliano going on Fox Business.
You know, he's a cheerleader. He's a lovely guy and he works really hard, and I just look at him like he's okay to have around. You know, he's I don't think that he's like I don't think that he is
I
enough to
saw
be
something on
dangerous.
Twitter like, here's Anthony Pompliano telling us when Bitcoin is going to get to 100,000, and I'm like, this is
Yeah, this is
yeah,
this is not what you want to see if you're in it. That's for
yeah.
sure. I'm not cool with that. But he's going to be there doing his thing. You know what I'll give him credit for is he's sorry, let me hang up on this person. He was there on the lows saying this thing's not going away, right? And I subscribe to his Substack, and I don't read it every day, but I do get the flavor of it. I read a couple of sentences just to see what he's cheering about. And I got to say that he was steadfastly bullish, down at 25 and 30K. And I thought that that was pretty impressive. And, look at the thing now. He's trying to continue to cheer it on. You know who I'm pumped for with this move? El Salvador.
Yeah.
Right? Nayib Bukele like stuck his grapes on the fucking line and was like, I'm getting our reserves into Bitcoin,
Yep.
put on a huge position, and the fucking thing is gone.
I saw something recently. There was some football player, I can't remember his name. This was the guy who got paid in Bitcoin. So he got paid 6.5 million in Bitcoin, and now it's worth 40 million.
Wow. I didn't see that story.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable, man. Yeah, I remember when they were asking to get paid in Bitcoin. Didn't Taylor Swift, who was it? Didn't Giselle Bundchen ask to get paid in Bitcoin as well, right at the highs or something like that?
I think you're confusing that with euros back
Euro,
in 2006.
yeah. But I thought she wanted to get. Oh no, maybe it was. I think I just tied it together with the Giselle Tom Brady deal,
FTX.
with FTX, yeah, where they got roped in at the highs again. I mean, that must have cost them a pretty penny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What else did I want to say about Bitcoin that I thought was interesting? I unblocked a lot of the laser eyes, just to kind of see what was going on. And like you said, they're nowhere to be found right now. So that's a really good thing for the markets. What's interesting to me also, as Joe Rogan came out with a barrage of guests through the election, right? He went from Trump to Musk to Fetterman. And he's clearly, what's amazing is that as he establishes himself as the new media, Spotify is currently taking off today in a 7 standard deviation, 10% rally to 462.
Wow.
This stock was sitting there at $100, not bothering anybody when they paid Joe Rogan $100 million for his podcast. And I was not smart enough to buy the freaking thing. And I've never had trader's remorse.
It's kind of like Howard Stern and Sirius XM.
Oh my God. Yeah. What a top
Remember
tip
that?
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. That's right. That took off for a while. And now, man, it looks like Howard is going the other way. But he's been, so outspoken and paranoid against Trump and things like that I think he lost a little bit of his audience for being a little
Lost a lot of his audience, yeah.
I mean, he was the guy that wasn't leaving his house during COVID. Like he was a maximalist to beat all maximalists. Yeah. It was really pretty impressive. But let's go off market, JD, for a moment, I think, unless there's something else you want to cover. But I think the Trump appointments have been, there's a few head scratchers like always, but man, you sick Elon Musk and Vivek on the Department of Government Efficiency, and that's something that gives me the chills.
It doesn't give me chills; it gives me a boner.
Yeah, that too. And I was trying to keep it cleaner, but I appreciate that you go the full route, because that's really what it is. I mean, think about it. Imagine that, the efficiencies they're going to create, and maybe some of that money comes back to the people somehow. You know what I mean?
It will.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so with things like that going on, that's why I'm double perplexed that the markets are saying, yeah, the economy's not great. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of upsetting. Then we got Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor. I'm cool with this guy. He's a Bronze Star guy that was in Afghanistan, Special Forces, 26 years in the military. Looks like a straightforward pick. John Ratcliffe, CIA director.
Did you see the new one for defense, Pete Hegseth?
Yeah. What's your take on that?
I mean, kind of an out of consensus pick. He's a Fox News talking head, but he's very outspoken about getting all the woke bullshit out of the military and being focused on readiness and lethality and nothing else. Getting rid of all the woke bullshit.
Right. The warriors of our nation should be focused on lethality. That's what I want them focused on. I like that. And, he wrote The War on Warriors, right, which was blaming the woke military for the recruiting crisis. Here's a quote from there. For the past 3 years, after President Barack Obama poured the Social Justice Foundation, The Pentagon, across all branches, has embraced the social justice messages of gender equity, racial diversity, climate stupidity, and the LGBTQA plus alphabet soup in their recruiting pushes. Sounds like that's all going to go away, you know? So he's an interesting pick. Everybody's like, oh, Fox News picks to run the Pentagon. And, if you just do a little bit of a read through,
Yeah.
you
I
understand.
have I have a lot of feelings on this. I went to the Coast Guard Academy,
Yeah,
right?
let's hear it. Yeah.
And the service academies, I would say in the early 90s was the toughest time to be there in history, right? It was Generation X. There
Yeah.
was not a lot of supervision. People
Peak
were
America.
insane. I mean, dude, we talk about like having like these safe spaces and cuddle parties in college. Dude, I was getting screamed at, spit on my face, doing 2,000 push-ups in a day, running obstacle courses, doing all this stuff. Like that was my college experience. Like it was very hard. And it was psychologically very hard. It was extremely hard. You had to memorize all this stuff. You had to spew stuff. And what I know for a fact is that boot camp, basic training now across the services is easy. It's easy. It's like summer camp. So
Really?
what's funny is that when I was in the military, this was before 9/11. You know how people will say thank you for your service?
Hmm.
Nobody did that to me. I'd be walking around in uniform, whatever. Nobody ever said that to me. After it started after 9/11, I got out in 2001. But I think today about if you went through today's easy military and somebody said thank you for your service, how would that make you feel? Because you're not really making any sacrifices. It's not hard. And I'm a big fan of doing hard things for their own sake. You know, do something hard because it's hard. Make it challenging. And I don't think people are being challenged nowadays. And I mean, we don't our readiness is down.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it definitely, that whole entire, DEI theme spilled right into the military. It started, with COVID, with them, walking around in masks and stuff like that. And that just didn't give me any comfort when our military is wearing surgical masks and things like that for whatever reason. Um, and it seems like it's gone, the pendulum has swung as far as it is going to swing, and now it's time for it to swing back. And I guess that's why Trump hired somebody that's not a a military swamp creature, rather, right? I mean, he's got nothing but problems from them from the last administration. I mean, there's still a bunch of them that are lurking around
Dude,
looking.
Millie, remember Millie? That
Yeah,
guy was the biggest shitbird of all time. Like
he's
that
like
guy was,
treasonous in broad daylight,
yeah,
where he's saying he's not going to, allow Trump to carry out his policies or this and
yep,
that. And it's like, Trump is looking for world peace, bro. Like, I don't know what side of history you're on,
yeah.
but yeah, it's a bad look for those guys. And it just seems like those are the deep state, establishment puppets that are still in place that they're using to maneuver whatever they're trying to maneuver. But it is a little bit of a sketchy thing. When you mentioned that we were going to talk about, safe spaces and trigger warnings and things like that, and the sort of infantilization of kids. And something that you said just reminded me, in the 90s, or say in the 80s, is when I rushed a fraternity in college. And I remember the psychological sort of warfare that took place during that. And fast forward to today, and my son is rushing a fraternity at his, Southern college. And the things that they have to do for rushing are like cupcake shit, man. It's like, come over and clean a brother's house for 2 hours, drive these guys back and forth to the football game, like do push-ups and sit-ups and air squats. It's like, okay, like you can see how it was different. We had really, really intense forms of pledging and things like that, and a lot of it was much more psychological than the physical. But I think that that's kind of something else that kind of plays into the change in culture over the years. I don't think that that stuff is going to last under the Trump administration.
Dude, Generation X is the best generation in the world. We are tough, tough bastards. We are tough bastards. You
Period.
know,
End
we
of
were
story.
neglected by our parents. Our parents didn't go to our little league games. They didn't care. They were off doing their own things. We were riding around in the back of pickup trucks. We were drinking out of the garden hose. We were, like
Yeah. Yeah, you know what's amazing? The kids today, like, yeah, drinking out of the garden hose. We were, playing drinking games. We were drinking and driving too much. We were, the whole thing, smoking too much. And fast forward to today, and like you look at the numbers of youth smoking, and they've like imploded. You
Yeah,
look
it's
at
like
youth,
1%.
yeah, youth binge drinking, like off the cliff. So I suppose that there's some good stuff to some good elements to the softening of our youth. They're definitely way more sensitive to people's feelings than we ever were. But I think it's going to swing back the other way. I think that we're going to go back to focusing on achievements over feelings, and I think it's going to be a beautiful thing, despite all of the people that are going to try to, all the social justice warriors that are going to try to stand their ground and not say things like faggot and stuff like that. And it's like, come on, man, loosen up. That stuff never hurt anybody in the first place. So I think we're going to go back. And that's a good sign. So you got a DJ party coming up, do you?
So yeah, December 6th. If you're listening to this, December 6th, it's at Do Supper Club, 59 West 21st Street. From when is it from 7 to 11:30 p.m. It's early. It's not like one of these parties that starts at 10 and goes all night. So it's 7 to 11:30. I'm DJing the whole thing. I'm doing an open to close set. Can we put the link in the show notes? Can I give you
Yeah,
the link for the party? We'll put the link in there. The
absolutely.
tickets are $25. Come on out. So,
Right on. That's shortly after Thanksgiving. That rolls you right into the holiday season that
yep.
everybody loves. New York City is always banging that time of year, so it's a lot of fun. You mentioned to me something about the Israeli electronic dance music scene. What the hell's that all about?
Yeah, so this has been going on for about 10 or 15 years. There's a group of DJs and producers in Tel Aviv. There's Guy J, there's Guy Mansour, there's Ken, there's Eli Nissan, there's Roy Rosenfeld, there's Sahar Z. Like, there's a whole scene of progressive house, Israeli progressive house, and it is the best stuff. It is honest to God, it is the best stuff. Like I've seen Guy Mansour twice in Miami.
Really?
Phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff.
You should do one of your DJ Stochastic mix that's kind of based on Israeli DJs.
Oh, I have. I
Oh, you
have.
have?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't
Oh,
remember which one, but I've have in the past.
oh,
Yeah.
dig that out and send that over to me. That'll be good work background music for me to
Yeah.
pick it out, man.
There used to be a club in Tel Aviv called the Cat and the Dog,
Mm,
which is where all these guys would play, and I never went to it. Obviously, I don't even know if it's still there, but the Cat and the Dog.
very interesting. That sounds cool. And meanwhile, I'm still stuck in my, Grateful Dead stuff after Phil Lesh died. You go back and listen to all kinds of stuff and concerts that you went to, you see them online. And, I guess we live in two different worlds musically, and that's A-OK with me. Um,
By the way,
yeah.
I might be getting the biggest DJ gig of my life
Congratulations. What the hell?
next year in May. I can't give the details yet. I'll just give you one hint. Vegas.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah.
That's badass. I mean, that's something that I would consider making a trip for. I mean, any excuse to go to Las Vegas right now is worth it. I got to say, Vegas is so cool. My single favorite Twitter account on the entire platform is Las Vegas locally, right?
Hmm.
They were the first one. No, they are going to be the first ones to keep you up on stuff that's going on in Vegas, to the point where they're the first one to post the Sphere pictures, right? Sphere just did a Formula One thing where they turned the Sphere into a race tire, right?
Yep.
Las Vegas locally is the first place you're going to see that. Somebody takes a dump on the rug in the Bellagio. Las Vegas locally is reporting it like real time. Like here goes the guy taking a dump. It's like somebody changes a lunch menu and they're like, "Hey, Taco Tuesday just came out at this point." And I wrote to those guys. I'm like, you guys are the most astute account on Twitter, and you should literally branch out to every country, every big bull market city in the country, and you guys will make a living at it. And they're like, yeah, thanks. We're just a couple of guys in Vegas paying attention. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But anyway, I will do my best to. If you wind up DJing in Vegas, I would do my best to go there. I'm dying to go to an A's game in the new stadium. I'm dying to go to a Raiders game. I mean, I'm
Yep.
dying to sit down and play blackjack for 24 hours. The whole thing is a lot of fun to me. So that sounds like a good note to end on. And also for our final promotion, I just want to continue to mention behind the scenes, under construction, we are putting together a link for a dual subscription to Macro Dirt, which means you're going to get the Navigator and the Dirt Nap, and you're going to get them at a combined discounted price with one click of a one mouse click and one purchase. And that will be something that should be out around the holidays. Let's just leave it at that. But I'm excited for that because people are excited for that and calling for it, and we're going to give the market what they want. Yeah, the horn, man. Let's go. Let's sell some dual subscriptions. Like, make some money under the Trump administration. Check your politics at the door and short the freaking solar stocks. Buy the broker dealers. This is a live market, gang. Stay with us, okay? We're going to follow it the whole way. Hasta la vagina, good people.
Hasta la vagina.